Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
7982. O my Lord, mercy or day, by engaging in the transcendental loving service in the association of devotees who are liberated souls, unsought, I should completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of material nature and be able to chant the glories of the Lordship who are so dear to me. I should chant his glories exactly in constant love and line and in absolute succession. In this way I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nescience.
Hare Krishna. Next to Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. Shri Gauranitai ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Samaved Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Last week we had the class, but there was no Mayapur TV, so or YouTube broadcast. So some devotees asked me to just give a quick recap of what we covered last week, and then we'll continue. So as we were discussing about a month ago about Narada Muni visiting Pandavas, and Pandavas, they direct the glorification of Narada Muni towards the Yadus who are in Dwaraka. And Narada Muni goes to Dwaraka, glorifies the Yadus, And Yadus, out of respect for Narada Muni, they don't decline the glorification, but instead they accept what Narada Muni says is true, but they do direct Narada Muni towards someone who they say and feel as more fortunate than them, which is Uddhava. And their justification, as we saw last week, was Uddhava was by the side of Krishna 24/7. In fact, it was the instruction of the Supreme Lord himself that Uddhava should not leave from the side of Krishna. So because Yadus, they don't get to see Krishna all the time, whenever they see Uddhava coming out, running errands here there, fulfilling the orders of Krishna, they looked at Uddhava and they felt very happy. Uddhava, even though he was born in a Kshatriya family and according to his lineage, he would be brightly complexioned, but simply due to the meditation of Krishna, his whole bodily complexion also takes the color of Krishna. Not only that, he was wearing Krishna's garments, prasadam. He was taking the remnants of Krishna. He was wearing the garlands, Maha garland of Krishna. So in this way, Uddhava was totally immersed in his service for Krishna. So the Yadavas or the Yadus, after highlighting this exalted position of Uddhava, they tell to Narada Muni, he is more fortunate than us. Yes, what you say is true. We are indeed blessed to have Krishna in our presence. However, amongst us, we feel Uddhava is the one who is most favored. And while Narada Muni, in his eagerness to glorify Uddhava, was about to leave, Ugrasena, having read the mind of Narada Muni, because Narada Muni was heading towards the home of Uddhava. So Ugrasena at that time, he intercepts and he tells Narada Muni that even though he is the king of Dwaraka and Krishna would come in front of Ugrasen, respecting him, showing him effusing praises that is befitting a king, and then Krishna would put himself in a humble position to Ugrasena saying, my lord, I am your servant, please let me what order you have for me. How can I serve you? So Ugrasena says, even though some may see my position as very exalted, it is a very painful position to be in, because Krishna is the Supreme Lord, Krishna is the object of love, Krishna is the object of utmost respect of everyone. But still, that same Swayam Bhagavan Krishna comes in front of his devotee Ugrasen and he puts himself in the position of a servant. There are instances where you will see Krishna has served his devotees, actually all the time he serves his devotees. Arjuna, for example. Krishna was taking the position of a charioteer. Even though Krishna takes a very humble position of a charioteer, it's not that Arjuna is suddenly playing the role of a master, telling the whole world, see how superior I am and see Krishna is inferior to me. That's not the mood of devotees. Arjuna is accepting the service of Krishna in the mood of service. So for Arjuna to accept Krishna as his charioteer, he feels this is his service to Krishna. Likewise, Yashoda Maya, you will see, chasing after Krishna with a stick. But how often does that happen? Only once it happened. And it gets glorified. But Prabhupada says Krishna, he would cause so much anxiety to the devotees. Yashoda Maya would actually have that concern 24/7. Has Krishna eaten? Has Krishna slept? Has Krishna, is Krishna secure? Because there are a lot of demons also coming to kill Krishna. So Prabhupada says 24/7, Yashoda Maharani was immersed in this anxiety of, is Krishna okay? So even when Yashoda Maharani picks up the stick and chases after Krishna, It was in the mood of that Vatsalya that she feels, this is my little Lala, he's doing something naughty, so I better correct him now, just like how any parent would do. She also thinks he's the heir apparent of everything which Nanda Baba owns. And they are getting old, so after them, it's only Krishna who's going to lead, so if she doesn't discipline, Krishna wouldn't be able to manage everything. This is her mood. Treating Krishna as her own ordinary child. So here Ugrasena says, even though Supreme Lord comes in front of me and says that, as such, I don't feel. In fact, I feel it's very painful to have my beloved object of love coming and glorifying me. And then he says something interesting to Narada Muni, that because Uddhava is by the side of Krishna 24/7, if you at all want to see Uddhava, don't waste your time going to his home. Instead, go to the place where Krishna is residing. So when he hears all the Yadus in the assembly saying that, Narada Muni immediately he goes into his ecstatic mode and he runs towards Krishna's palace. Now it is said that the path to reach Krishna's palace is not straightforward. People, whoever who tries to reach, they'll get bewildered by this intertwined path. However, Narada Muni, even though he is in a very ecstatic mood, totally oblivious of what's happening around him, he was still able to find his way in his devotional ecstasy because he has put himself totally under the control of Yogamaya. That's why it is said in the Shastras, warned also. Vaishnavara Kriya Mudra Vigya Na Bhujvaya. When you look at the external activities, external symptoms of Vaishnavas, it can bewilder one. Narada Muni was behaving in his transcendental ecstasy, not knowing where he is going, not even bothering to play his veena. He is just wandering. But because he put himself under the control of Yoga Maya, he didn't miss even one single turn. He finds the route perfectly and he comes. So when we follow on the path of devotional service, we get difficulties, we get challenges. We should never feel afraid to take shelter of Krishna. If we take shelter of Krishna, no matter what challenge or difficulty our life throws at us, we will always end up at the right destination. The outcome will always be in our favor. Narada Muni finally goes to Krishna's palace and there he sees Krishna's family members standing there. So Narada Muni, after arriving in Krishna's palace, he sees all his more intimate family members. Devaki, Maya, Rohini Mata, Balaram, and Krishna's principal queens also, Rukmini, Satyabhama, all of them. Narada Muni goes, he sees all of them, and then he starts to jump up in ecstasy and then he falls to the ground. So immediately all the family members, they rush, pick up Narada Muni, they place him on an asana, fan him, and they inquire from him, "Oh my dear Narada, what's happening? We have never seen you in this form. Is everything alright?" Usually Krishna, he wakes up during Brahma Muhurta. You can read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's given. Early in the morning, Krishna would wake up and he would sit in meditation of Radha Krishna himself. Because he is the supreme object of love, Krishna would behave as if he is a normal householder, just to set an example. In the same way as he has accepted the position of a servant in the assembly of Ugrasena, in the same way as he accepted even the role of a student in the ashram of Sandipani Muni. Similarly, Krishna, he wakes up, he sits in meditation, and then he would continue with his morning duties. There are details that are given early in the morning. Krishna would even practice handling weapons. 7:30 before breakfast. So there's a complete schedule that's given in Shastras. What Krishna is doing in Dwaraka, what Krishna does, where you will find Krishna in Vrindavan, what is he doing. Ashtakal Leela, it's given. So, different places, different times, different mood, and different activities Krishna does. So, in Dwaraka, Krishna is known to do all of this perfectly. But on this particular morning, when Narada Muni arrived, Krishna hasn't woken up from his bed. And it was already quite late. So normally by then Krishna would be up and everyone would be going to take his darshan, his association. But today, Krishna was lying, taking the blanket. Sometimes you struggle to sleep. You turn this side, that side, and you try to cover, and you still feel very much fresh. That's what Krishna was facing that morning. So he was lying, covering the blanket over his head. But he hasn't gotten up. And everyone is waiting for Krishna to wake up. So after Krishna, or rather, since Krishna hasn't woken up, Uddhava was also waiting for Krishna. Normally he doesn't leave the side of Krishna because he's still sleeping. He just comes to the balcony and there he sees all his close family members assembled. Narada Muni was also there. So Narada Muni was seated on the asana, they are fanning him. Uddhava sees them and he also comes and joins them. And now Narada Muni repeats what he heard from the other Yadus in the assembly. I'm here to see that most fortunate servant of Krishna, the one who received the maximum mercy of Krishna. Where is he? Even though Uddhava was standing right in front of him, Narada Muni in his ecstasy, he couldn't see him. And then he starts to glorify. How fortunate is Uddhava. He never leaves the side of Krishna. He is the recipient of all the remnants of Krishna. Krishna would consult with him as his advisor. Krishna would engage him in the missions which he would give only to the most confidential servants. We were discussing last week how Uddhava was sent by Krishna to Hastinapur to know about the well-being of the Pandavas. Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan with message to all the gopis and the gopas to pacify all his family members in Vrindavan, so on and so forth. So Narada Muni, after glorifying Uddhava, he asks, where is Uddhava? And now Uddhava, he is there just in his vicinity. He comes and he accepts what Narada Muni says. He tells to Narada, oh my dear Narada, what you say is true. When somebody has pure devotion, they will be humble. Knowledge always leads to humility. Knowledge always leads one to behave in a humble way, to serve others. So here, Uddhava, having the highest depth of devotion, he accepts what Narada Muni is saying is true. But then he says, Narada, what you are saying is true. You always speak the highest truth. You always give the highest principles of devotional service. In fact, I also felt the same way. That I am the most favored, I am the most fortunate, and I am the most exalted devotee. Until I visited Vrindavan. So Krishna, after leaving Vrindavan, he comes to Mathura, kills Kamsa, and then now he becomes the prince of Yadus. And at that time, Vasudeva sends Krishna and Balaram to Ujjain or Avanti to get trained under the tutelage of Sandipani Muni. So Sandipani Muni is Krishna's guru. So he learns, it's given in the Krishna book that Krishna learnt all the 64 arts in 64 days. Of course, all the arts come from him, but he took the position of a student, Krishna and Balaram. So here, it's given that Krishna, after coming back from Sandipani Muni's ashram, Mother Rohini tells him, because Krishna, when he leaves Vrindavan, he left with Lord Balaram, led by Akrura. He comes to Mathura, and at that time, before leaving, he tells to all the Brajavasis, I'm going there on a mission, I would soon return back. So he goes. Soon after Krishna and Balaram left, the news comes to Vrindavan that they have already killed Kamsa. Ugrasena is the king now of Mathura. Rohini Mata also at that time leaves Vrindavan because Vasudev had sent Rohini Mata for her protection. When Kamsa became the ruler, imprisoning even his own father Ugrasena, at that time Vasudev, he tried to protect his family members, so he sent them to different places. Only Vasudeva and Devaki, they were caught in the prison. Vasudeva had many wives, one of them is Rohini. So he sends Rohini to be under the care and protection of Nanda Baba and Yashodamaya. So now after the rule is reinstated, Kamsa was killed, Rohini Mata, she left Vrindavan. But by then she could understand the viraha or the pain of separation which the Brajavasis are going through. They have already seen what is the life of Brajavasis like in the absence of Krishna, how much they are missing Krishna. So when she experiences that, she comes, waits for Krishna to finish his Gurukula. As soon as Krishna comes back, at that time Rohini Mata tells him that the residents of Vrindavana are feeling very much pained in your absence, so you should visit. And Krishna says yes, but rather than him going, he sends Uddhava instead. So Uddhava goes there. Uddhava goes to Vrindavan carrying the message of Krishna to all the Brajavasis. And at that time, Uddhava, he could experience the depth of devotion of all the Brajavasis. He carries the message to Nanda Baba, Yashoda Maharani. He carries the message to all the Gopa friends of Krishna. And then he reads out all the messages for the gopis as well. It's given in seclusion. And Uddhava says, after having visited there, I could understand how much devoted the Brajavasis are and how much fortunate I am. Why? I could understand about the position of Krishna only after going to Vrindavan. How much the Gopas and Gopis there, they love him. And how easily I am getting Krishna's association. That same object of love who was craved by so many pure devotees, I am getting that Supreme Lord's association 24/7. So I felt very fortunate. There is this famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Ashamaho charanarenu jusamaham syam vrindavane kim api gulmalatau shadinam yadhisteja svajanam aryapatam chahitva bejur mukunda padavim shrutibir vimrikyam. Uddhava says, how much I like to go to Vrindavan and how much I like to take the shelter of the gopis. Why? Yad yustajas tvajanam aryapatam shahitva. Because they have given up everything simply to take shelter of Krishna. How much I would like to take birth in Vrindavan. But to take birth in Vrindavan is not an ordinary thing. You don't take birth in Vrindavan based on your desire. We cannot desire which family we want to be born in. We can't desire how beautiful or how wealthy we should be looking. We can't desire even how much knowledgeable we should become. We can try reading books, we can study, but it doesn't guarantee. So in order to get everything or anything in life, we need to definitely put our endeavor, but Krishna also needs to give his kripa. Without kripa, desiring alone doesn't make us successful in life. Prahlad Maharaj says, in this world, if somebody is in diseased condition, just because the person is rich, just because the person has access to all the medicines available, doesn't guarantee that the person will be saved. If you had watched any movies, you would see doctors would go, they would operate and they'll say, trust in God. Because there's only so much we have in our control. And at some point, we have to leave it to Krishna. But we need to do our duty to the best possible extent, and after that, we should leave it to Krishna. So here, Uddhava, he tells to the devotees there that I have been to Vrindavan. Until I went to Vrindavan, I thought I am the most favored. But after going to Vrindavan, I realized gopis are the most favored. Gopas are the most favored devotees of the Lord. So Uddhava says, this is my position. And then he tells to Narada Muni that Supreme Lord, he desires to be with his devotees all the time. And no matter how much I tried to convince the Brajavasis, they were not convinced. They want to see Krishna. They always wanted to be with Krishna. And at that time, Rohini Mata, she responds. Rohini is mother of Lord Balaram. And she says, your Supreme Lord Krishna, he could have gone to Vrindavan to save all the Brajavasis, which he didn't. Because he was feeling very much separation. We all know he feels a separation, but still he didn't. Looks like he might have forgotten. He may have forgotten about his childhood, he may have forgotten about the love of all the devotees in Vrindavan towards him. Because Krishna, when he came from Vrindavan to Mathura, he came to first of all kill Kamsa. And then later on, Krishna, he becomes the prince. And then he establishes Dwarka city. And now he has become a well-established king. So one may think like that, a typical story you would read. Somebody coming from a very poor background, they would climb up their ladder, and then later on they become very rich. The friend circle, family circle, everything changes, then they completely forget about their childhood days and childhood relationships which one had with their friends. You will see in Mahabharata the story of Drupada and Dronacharya. Drupada, he had a good friendship with Dronacharya. Drupada was the father of Draupadi. So in Gurukul, he used to be very close with Dronacharya. But later on, after he becomes king, Dronacharya goes to him one day just to greet his friend. And at that time, Drupada says, I am a great king now. And you are just a poor Brahmana. Yes, it is true that at one point of time we were together and as friends we had made a lot of promises to each other when we were kids. But that's no better than a child play. Nobody should take them seriously. So he refuses to entertain the friendship. So you will see here Krishna, Rohini Mata is actually saying, has Krishna forgotten about his love or about the love of the devotees in Vrindavan towards him? Then Rukmini ji speaks and she says, no, Krishna when he is asleep, even in Dwaraka, he always speaks about the names of the gopis, names of the gopas. Krishna's father Nanda Baba had how many cows? 900,000 cows. And each one of them had a name. And Krishna knows the name of each one of them. And at the end of the day, Krishna would call each one of them, calling their name by playing the flute. That's how expert Krishna is in playing flute. So every single cows, every single calf, Krishna had a special relationship. So Krishna knows everyone. So Rukmini ji says, Krishna hasn't forgotten Vrindavan. Why? What's the proof? Because Krishna, even in Dwaraka, when he's sleeping, in sleep, he would call out. Some Gopa, hey Madhumangal, hey Stopa Krishna, hey Sridham, hey Sudham, where are you? He would call out Gopi's name, Lalita, hey Vishaka, hey Radharani, hey Chandravali. Likewise, Krishna would also call the names of different cows. So Rukmini ji says, Krishna hasn't forgotten Vrindavan. He is remembering Vrindavan so much that even in dream he is talking about it. Sometimes we may think what we see in dream is beyond our control. But Bhagavata Puran or Srimad Bhagavatam says if we see something in dream, that means in reality we have already got experience of that. May not be in this life. May not be now. Could have been in the past in your same life or could have been in your previous birth also. If you see something in dream means it's based on your experience in the past. It goes deep into our memory and we may die, go to some other body, but the memory keeps on carrying from one life to the other, to the other. Now we may also think if something is happening in dream, like I say in dream I am doing something wrong. Let's say I am stealing something. Do I incur karma because of that? Normally, in our day-to-day life, if you go and do something wrong, let's say you steal something, you incur karma. Law of karma will kick in as well as law of the land also will kick in. You may get arrested. But in dream, if you do something, is there a karma that is incurred? How many of you think? Yes, we do have karma even for activity we do in dream. How many of you say yes to that? Only one. How many of you think, no, whatever we do in dream, there is no karma for it? Put your hand up. Some are not putting hand up for either of them. Surprise, surprise. Shastras say, even for the activities we do in dream, there is karma. Shocked, right? When I read that, I was like, what? Already life is complicated, you know. Even when we are awake, controlling things is very difficult. Now in dream, how am I supposed to? And in one sense, it looks very unfair. Why should we be held responsible for something that's happening in dream, correct? Sometimes a tiger will chase you, try to run, tiger will catch you. Have you got the dreams? Snake will chase. Somebody, some weird creature will chase us. But Shastras say what we see in dream is dependent on what? Dependent on our experiences in past. Which means dream is coming to us for a certain reason. It's not coming random. In life, we may think things are happening very randomly. There's no randomness here. Why do we think we are in the temple room today? Because we desired or because Shri Radha Gopinath desired? How many of you think because we are here because we desired? Put your hand up. Okay. How many of you think we are here because today Radha Gopinath wanted to see us, that's why we are here? Some are now putting the hand up for both of them. Yeah, That sounds right. This also sounds right. We are here today in the temple of Radha Gopinath because Radha Gopinath ji wanted to see us. That's why we are here. So when we come to temple, we should come properly dressed. In a most presentable way. You look at how beautifully Shri Radha Gopinath are dressed. You look at them, you can keep on looking. Whole day. They will also keep on looking at you. You will never feel bored. They look so beautiful, so charming. You guess their age? 52 years old. Do they look like that? No. So they have been in Sydney. This is their 53rd year. They came in 1971. Every single day they are so beautifully served, beautifully dressed. Every single day, so many aratis and offerings go on. 6 aratis and 6 offerings. If you do the math, you will understand. 6 times, multiply by 365, multiply by 52. That's how many aratis have been offered in last 52 years. Like that, 6 multiplied by 365 multiplied by 52. That's how many times they have eaten also. Bhog offering Gopinath has eaten. Likewise, there are so many festivals. So many things. Whole temple acts only for their pleasure. All the devotees in our community, they work only for the pleasure of Shri Radha Gopinath ji. This way. So here, in Krishna is speaking, so coming to the point about dream. What we get in dream depends on what activities we do in our life. Now, whatever happened in the past, we have no control. Thank God we don't even know. Correct? Otherwise, if you have to sit and regret, already we have so many things to regret for what we did even just today. Correct? What to speak of the rest of our past life in this life, plus the previous lives, too much. But if we cultivate good thoughts, if we cultivate thoughts about Krishna, if we chant Hare Krishna, if we say Krishna's name, let's chant one Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So if we chant Krishna's name, Lord Brahma says, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Whatever karma we do in this life, bad karma we do in this life, we want them to go away. So if we want any bad karmic reaction to go away from us, then we have to take Krishna's name. We have to perform bhakti. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Only bhakti can uproot all bad karma. Anything bad that we have done, it can go away. We have Tulsi Maharani, we do Tulsi Puja every morning. You go around Tulsi Maharani 4 times, all your past sins will go away. Padma Puran says that. So you'll see in the morning we do Tulsi Puja every day, 5 o'clock in the morning. Like that, you come to temple, there's Charnamrita there, you take little drops, that's the Abhishek water. So every day we do Abhishekam also of Radha Gopinath ji and Gaur Nitai and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani. So if you take that, there's one yellow sheet there, right next to Jai, Vijay. If you read the translation, it will tell you, if whoever who takes even a little drop, Akala Mrityu Haranam, you won't get untimely death, like that it's given. Okay, death is sure, everyone will die. How many of you here believe you won't die? Put your hand up. Okay. How many of you here don't want to die? Put your hand up. Come on, you're all lying. Nobody wants to die here. We all die, but we don't want to die. If we don't want to die, is it possible? How many of you think it's possible to not die? It is possible. How to not die? If we practice bhakti, only the body will die. Even without we practicing bhakti also, body only will die. But the soul can go back to the spiritual world. If we take shelter of Krishna, That's what is awaiting us. So simply, congratulations. If you have come to temple means you are already under the shelter of Radha Gopinathji. Okay, so you are here because Gopinath wanted to see you. He desired, and we are here. And there are many people you can call and you can ask your friends, hey, today Janmashtami, you didn't come today? Yeah, I wanted to go. You can only want. Krishna has to fulfill. Okay, so many people would want to do things, but nobody is as fortunate as we are because we are here right now. So whatever that happens in our dream, yes, it is not in our control because whatever happens in our dream is the reaction of whatever karma we do whenever we were alive and awake. So if we do good deeds when we are awake, then it won't disturb us. Any other path other than bhakti cannot counteract the karmic reaction. Prabhupada writes this beautiful point. He says, some people may think, I'll do some fasting, I'll do some tapasya, I'll do some charity, I'll do some good activity. They are all good, definitely, but none of them are spiritual. And because none of them are spiritual activity, or more precisely, none of them come under devotional activity, they are not able to counteract our karma. None of them can counteract our karma. So Prabhupada says, whatever good activities one may do, it is not good enough still to save the performer, except bhakti. That's why bhakti is the topmost yoga. So coming back to this point, so Krishna, that morning he didn't get up. He was just lying, sleeping, covering his head. And Rukminiji, she says, Krishna, while he is asleep, he calls out the different personalities who he associated with when he was young. So when she says like that, at that time Satyabhama, who is one of Krishna's other principal queens, she says, Rukminiji, you are saying Krishna talks about all his Gopas and Gopi friends only while he is asleep? I don't think so. He does it even while he is awake. He not only remembers them when he is sleeping, even when he is awake, when he is walking around, when he is dealing with us, he is still talking about them only. In other words, he hasn't forgotten them. At that time, Balaram says, no, whatever Krishna does, he is just acting. He is not remembering all of them. So this is how the Leela unfolds. So you will see one group of devotees, they support, Krishna hasn't forgotten, his wives, Uddhava. Whereas on the other hand, Rohini Mata and Balaram, they say like, no, Krishna, he has forgotten. And then Balaram says his own side of the story. He says, when I came to know that the devotees in Vrindavan, they are feeling so much pangs of separation from Krishna, I went to Vrindavan and I spent 2 months there trying to pacify them. And to convince them that Krishna is coming, I made them so many promises in the name of Krishna. Till date, Krishna hasn't fulfilled even one of the promises. So Krishna, Balaram, when he went to Vrindavan, he constructs palaces, telling to Brajabasis, no, Krishna is coming, this is for real. See, I am building palaces here. Because Krishna is a great king, when he comes now, he is going to rest in each one of them. So then that gives a lot of solace for them. Yes. Otherwise, why would Balaram come to build? So Balaram, and then he spends a lot of time to pacify all of them because they wanted to remember. So then Balaram also started to engage in water sports, it's given. So in this way, Balaram in so many ways, he spoke to them, danced with them, he pacified his parents, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maharani. So after doing all of that, when I gave them so much hope that Krishna is coming, it became very hard for me to relieve myself away. Still with so much endeavor, finally I managed to pull myself out and come back to Dwaraka. However, Krishna is yet to fulfill even one of those promises. So I think Krishna has forgotten. So this is what Balaram says. When all of this is happening, Krishna, how many of you think he was actually in deep sleep? No. How many of you think Krishna was overhearing all of this? Most likely the case. So when Krishna hears all of this, then suddenly he comes out of the room and he says, I've been hearing what you all have been talking about, especially the Brajavasis. Yes, I have forgotten them. Yes, I didn't reciprocate with them. Then he looks at Uddhava and he says, Oh Uddhava, please tell me what should I do now? It is said that Uddhava, he was a very trusted advisor of Krishna. Even in the assembly of Ugrasena, his advice was always sought by the senior personalities. And he is also known for his wit and humor, as well as his intelligence. Krishna would always take his advice. So here he asks Uddhava. Uddhava says, Sriman Uddhava said, the people of Raja don't want from you the power and wealth of emperors, nor the enjoyments found in heaven, nor anything else obtainable in this world or the next. They desire nothing else but you. Kindly favor me with your attention. Think over what I am about to say and then act as you see fit. Even though Krishna is treating Uddhava as his advisor, Uddhava is not considering himself as superior. See, I am giving advice even to Supreme Lord Krishna. He is saying, my Lord, I will tell you what I feel. You please decide what you think is fit. Because you are Supreme Lord, only you know what is best. Before, when cowherds met Nanda and saw the jewels and other gifts you had sent with him, they spoke with one another, all of them immersed in an ocean of grief. Oh, how very painful Krishna now thinks we want such presents from him and deserve this kind of mercy. So Krishna became the king and he sends some gifts. Normally in material sense, if somebody has become wealthy and they send some gifts, nobody would condemn them, correct? Everyone will be very happy. Thank God, you may have forgotten us, which we don't mind as long as we get what we want. But here, the residents of Vrindavan, even though they receive all these gifts, priceless jewels from Krishna, they are condemning this and they are saying, we love Krishna from the bottom of our hearts, look what he is giving us. Does he think that this is going to pacify us? We want him and only him. You know, devotees are also very pedantic. We want you, only you, in Vrindavan. Not. They also could have gone to Dwarka and see him, right? No, they want him in Vrindavan. You come here. Therefore, damn our lives and breath that still moves in our throats, and damn Nanda and the cowherd men. They should have left these things behind and instead brought Krishna himself. So they are saying, what use is for all these jewels and costly material? They should have left all this and brought our Krishna. He is our real wealth. Thus the residents of Raja, including your mother Yashoda, gave up all hope of your return. Already dead, they now refuse to eat at all. Sri Nanda said, our son is an honest person who always speaks the truth. He has first sent us these things as tokens of his love. He is sure to come back to us quickly as soon as he finishes what he has to do in Mathura. So Nanda Baba, knowing very well about Krishna, he is giving hope that Krishna is a very honest person. He couldn't come immediately, that's why he is sending us these gifts as tokens of his love. So if we wait for long enough, we will see Krishna back in Vrindavan. The residents of Raja, all simple-hearted people, trusted Nanda's words. Thinking about your loving affection, they accepted the jewelry and put it on their bodies. So accepting Nanda Baba's words, they all accepted the gifts. They thought when Sri Krishna returns, he will see How we have followed his order? By accepting these remnants of his enjoyment. Then he will show us special mercy. Why are they accepting the jewelry? Not because they wanted to be rich, not because they wanted to present themselves as very beautiful, but it is simply to show to Krishna. When Krishna comes back, for them, Krishna, see, we have followed your instruction. That's the purpose. You will see similar mood exhibited by Shabari. When Shabari's spiritual master, when he says, what you keep serving here, one day the Supreme Lord Ramachandra will come. He didn't say when. He didn't say whether in this life. He didn't say whether will anyone be around to welcome the Lord. Nothing she knew. Only thing she knew is, my spiritual master, he told me to stay here and serve and keep the place ready. So when Supreme Lord Ramachandra, one day when he comes, he would accept her service. So holding on to that hope, she was patiently serving, keeping her place ready, tidying up every day, having boga ready every single day. Very difficult. If you know that you have to prepare for a big festival, you wouldn't mind pushing yourself if it's for one day, even if it's for 2 days. But if the situation is such that your authority comes and tells you, okay, cook a feast for 2,000 people for a festival, and it should be ready at a moment's notice. So when is the festival? That we can't tell you. It can be today, can be tomorrow, can be day after, or there may not be any festival at all. Okay, I'm supposed to cook for 2,000 people. How many people will come? People may come or may not come. That is also not guaranteed. How difficult it is. This is what the instruction that was given to Shabari. And Shabari was waiting. Many times when we do devotional service, we are not sure whether what we are doing is being noticed by Krishna. Whether what we are doing is actually meaningful. How many of you have that experience? Sometimes it happens. You do something, but you don't know whether it's really adding some value for Krishna. Is it really pleasing the Guru? Agastya Muni, he once built a temple in a place called Kalahasti in Rajasthan. So for building the temple, he also took assistance from two of his friends. Not ordinary friends. They are also great sages, Bhrigu and Bharadwaj. And they engaged lot of people in constructing the temple. And at the end of the day, all these people, men and women, they would stand in a line, one single line. And Agastya Muni would be seated. It's time to pay them. And then they would stand in a line, long line. And then when Agastya Muni gives approval, at that time, Bhrigu and Bharadwaj, they would pick a handful of sand. And they would ask the workers to just cup their hands. They would pick a handful of sand and they would drop in their palms. These grains of sand would turn to gold in proportion to the amount of effort each worker had put during the day. If someone had worked only 50% of the time and 50% they spaced out, only 50% of the grain would turn to gold, remaining 50% would be sand. If someone had put 100% effort, each and every grain of sand would turn to gold. If someone has spaced out for the whole day, all they will get is just one handful of sand. Perfect system. Nobody will complain of underpaying. Nobody will complain about working from home and not getting paid enough. Perfect system. And this is not even spiritual. How much more perfect will Krishna's reciprocation be? Krishna himself is Achyuta. So many times when we do devotional service, we may not know who is seeing us. We may not know whether is what I am doing really adding value. It is adding value. How much effort we are putting. Is anyone noticing at all? Radha Gopinath, they notice it all the time. If what I am doing, is it really taking me on the right path? Radha Gopinath will guide us. Prabhupada says, normal people, if somebody is a wealthy person, they would pay so much to the people, like the bards and other people who would glorify them all the time. Prabhupada says, Krishna is the supreme person. How much more he would do? This morning I was reading, known poet Prabhupada says, Prabhupada is saying that Krishna knows our heart so much. If a devotee takes Krishna's shelter, even without the devotee asking, Krishna will fulfill all their desires, whatever they need. But then, should we pray to Krishna or not? We should still pray. But we have to understand, Krishna knows what we need, and Krishna will provide us what we need. If we don't take a spiritual perspective on our life, material things can easily put us in illusion, very, very easily. If we try to find material solutions, it may give us some temporary relief, but on the long run, the same problem will come and devour us again. That's why we should take shelter of Krishna. Prabhupada says we should look for spiritual solution always. And that's the point I was mentioning earlier. That whatever karma we incur in this life, if we take shelter of bhakti, bhakti is capable of removing all karmic reaction. Bhakti alone can do. Karma yoga can't do. Jnana yoga can't do. Ashtanga yoga can't remove karmic reaction. So Prabhupada says, because of this reason, no other process is worthy of pursuing. Very, very strong argument. Except bhakti, you take any other path, Prabhupada says it can never adjust your life for good. Bhakti alone can counteract our karma. The residents of Vraja, all simple-hearted people, trusted Nanda's words. Thinking about your loving affection, they accepted the jewelry and put it on their bodies. But you never came. You sent me instead. Who is saying this? Uddhava is saying it. And when they heard the message you had sent with me, they almost died from disappointment. Seeing them so despondent, I made every effort to keep them alive by promising you would surely come back. Then I returned here. To attain you, these devotees then renounced all enjoyment of the senses and all material shelter. Asha maho charnareno juham ahamsyam vrindavane kim api gulma lataushadinam. He says, may I be born, may I be blessed with the dust, charana renu. Jusam ahamsha, may I obtain the dust of the lotus feet of all the gopas and gopis. Vrindavane, in order to attain that, Vrindavane kim api gulma lata oshadi. Gulma means, in order to attain the dust, I can take birth as a, may I take birth as a shrub, may I take birth as a bush, may I take birth as a lata, which is creeper, or oshadi, as a herb. And when the gopas and gopis, when they walk, let them trample me. This way I will get their dust. Ya Dysteja Swajanam. Dysteja means something very hard to give up. What did the gopis give up? Ya Dysteja Swajanam Arya Patam Chahitva. Two things they have given up. Ya Dysteja Swajanam. They have given up their relatives, which is in one sense easy to do compared to the second part. Arya Patam. Arya Patam means path of chastity. They gave up that also. Yas Dysteja Swajanam Arya Patam Chahitva. Bejur Mukunda Padavim Shrutibir Vimrigyam. And they gave up for what? To pursue that personalities who all the Shrutis are glorifying and they are asking us to pursue. This is what they have given up. Sri Parikshit continued, from dread of the great pain of separation from Krishna, the faces of the ladies like Devaki and Rukmini were pale, downcast and full of tears. Looking at those women affectionately, gentle-hearted Krishna quickly gestured for an ink pot and paper. Krishna meant to strengthen the faith of his Vraja devotees by sending them a letter filled with loving sentiments and written by his own hand. My dear friends, please know that as soon as I settle the duties before me and satisfy my relatives here, I will return in no time. I will be there. So Krishna is writing a letter to the Brajavasis. Uddhava surmised what Krishna was about to do was therefore greatly distressed. Knowing the inner hearts of the Brajavasis, he cried and begged Krishna to reconsider his plans. So what is Uddhava wanting Krishna to do? He is wanting Krishna to go personally. But what is Krishna doing here? He is writing a letter. Uddhava is saying, this is not good enough. Please turn your attention to this. Unless your 2 lotus feet make a blessed journey to Vraja, there is no way to assure that your people of Vraja will survive. Those people want nothing but your lotus feet. Sri Parikshit said, the befuddled mother of Kamsa laughed at this, shook her head and burst out. Now I understand everything. Padmavati, who is mother of Kamsa, she is a person who is slightly mentally deranged. It's given like that. So everyone's mood would be different. Her mood alone would be different. When everyone is remembering about Krishna, how much the Gopas and Gopis they took care of him, her mood was, but they punished him for stealing some little milk like that. They didn't even give shoes and they made him to hurt the cows. It's enough. He should not go there. This is her mood. Possessiveness. But externally it looks like that. Sri Parikshit said, Balarama's mother Rohini, Yashoda's dear friend, couldn't tolerate hearing these insults. Angrily, she replied. Sri Rohini said, indeed, dear mother of Kamsa, will they just engage him in caring for cows? This is what she's saying. Unless the devotees that see him, they can't stay alive a single moment. So, Padmavati is saying, no, Krishna shouldn't go. They will punish him again. So this is her mood of being protective of Krishna. But Rohini, Mata, she is arguing back. Oh, don't worry, they won't send him back to the forest. They'll take care of him nicely. Oh, virtuous lady, if trees or other obstacles block Krishna from sight even briefly, his companions at once shed tears and call in anxious, drawn out voices. Sri Krishna, Krishna. If even the tree slightly blocks their vision, you go even further. In their tears when their mood of ecstasy, when their tears are slowly covering their eyes, they would feel separation of Krishna. It's given like that. When their eyelid is just closing like a shutter, just for a little moment, they would curse Brahma because of that. Why did you create it? This is blocking our vision of Krishna like that. For those who live in Vraja, daytime is like the black night at the end of the universe, and the blink of an eye is a millennium. Yugaitam Vinishena. In such a state, they look at the sun and trails of dust on the road again and again and listen for the sound of the flute. Every day, Krishna takes his older brother with him and goes out into various forests, eager to enjoy with his herds of cows and wander about in the company of his many friends. In those forests or lakes with sparkling water, where Kamala and Utpala lotus spread their fragrance. The lotuses tremble from the movements of swarms of bees, stirred up by rows of excited water birds. And in those forests flows the river Yamuna, the dearmost companion of the land of Raja. So all this glorification is said by Rohini Mata. She is glorifying Vrindavan. The picturesque splendor of that river, the daughter of Kalinda, astonishes the mind. And besides her, Vrajabhumi glistens with other rivers, the offsprings of hills like the Vindhyas. The beautiful shores of those rivers are always heaped with soft sand and covered by newly grown grass. To those shores come many different kinds of charming animals and birds who put their natural enmity aside. Trees, vines, and creepers further decorate the shores, bowing down with the weight of splendid flowers, fruits, and leaves. The shores resound with the calls of maddened peacocks and cuckoos, and those shores receive praise even from Lord Brahma. Vrindavana forest, Govardhana hill, and the whole area of Vraja are free from violence and theft. So one need not bother to watch one's cows. The cows simply go out into the forest in the morning with the other domestic animals like the buffaloes, eat grass and drink water as they like, and then in the evening come home. So she is saying this to pacify Padmavati. That Krishna is going to the forest to herd cows, but actually there is no work to do for him because the cows themselves are so cultured, they'll go finish eating grass and they will come back home. So Krishna is going to forest simply for playing. Elderly Padmavati said, "You child, you are too free with your words. If what you say is true, then why do we hear that the cows and other animals in Vraja are now in danger of dying?" So she is. So her mood is like that. She doesn't want Krishna to go. You will see. We saw this one in the Sutala planet also. Once when Durvasa Muni comes there to get support because Dwaraka was in danger. So at that time, Durvasa Muni asks Narada, "We need help from Krishna. We need help from Supreme Lord. Where can we find him?" Then Narada Muni says, "Go to Sutala planet. Vamanadev is there." And then he goes to Vamanadev. And Vamanadev says, "See, I am servant, doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj. Unless he gives permission, I can't leave. I am on duty. You please get permission from Bali Maharaj, then I can go." Then Durvasa Muni goes and tells to Bali Maharaj, "Oh great king, one who is known to give charity to whoever who comes to you, even more than what they want. May I ask to take Vamanadev with me to Dwaraka as well? Dwaraka is in danger." If you read that section, you will be amazed. Same Bali Maharaj who talks about giving charity, extolling the glories of charity, who even playfully tells to Vamanadev also, saying, "I come from the lineage of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj. You are very young, you don't know how to ask charity, don't ask for 3 pieces of land. When you go to great personalities, you should ask great boons." For which Vamanadev replies, "If I am not satisfied with just 3 pieces of land, I won't be satisfied with even all the 3 planetary systems." He already hints at them. Just give me 3 pieces. So Bali Maharaj had already experienced. So here Durvasa Muni is coming and asking Vamanadev now. If you read that section, Bali Maharaj gives a very interesting reply. He says, "You do tapasya, you do austerity, you stay here, you fast until death. Still, Vamanadev is not going to be sent." If you read that section, it is so funny. He says that actually. You do whatever you want, but I won't send Vamanadev. That's his response. And then Durvasa Muni goes back empty-handed. He glanced at the face. Sri Parishit having heard all this, the blessed Lord Gopala felt overwrought with worry for his devotees. Scorching anxiety dried up his lotus face. He was filled with dread. He glanced at the face of Baladev, who knew all the tidings of Raja, both past and present, and saw that it was covered with tears. So he looks at Baladev. Baladev is also shedding tears. Baladeva, the son of Rohini, was unable to keep his composure. Remembering Raja and understanding his brother's mood, He began crying without control, but then he managed to speak distinctly. Sri Baladev said, "Why speak only about the cows, dear Krishna? All the animals in Braja are your beloved friends, and so also the birds and the trees like Bandhira and Kadamba. The grass, the creepers, the lush bushes have all indicated their lives, have all dedicated their lives to you. Now they are all wasting away, and so do other rivers and mountains." So normally when we think of Vrindavan, we think of gopis. Okay, gopas. Govardhan hill, cows. But here Balaram is saying, not just cows, literally every living entity, plants, creepers, river, animals, birds, everyone, they are withering away. Some of the people, dear brother, live only on the hope that your promises were true. Better you not ask to hear more news than this. Why is he saying that? Because if he says more, then Krishna can't maintain his composure. I can only tell you that if you don't show your kindness to them soon, Yamaraj will soon show them his. My God. That you rid Kalia's lake of its poison has only greatened their misery. And please hear of still other reasons for their sorrow. In Braja, the river Yamuna has turned so dry, she has hardly any water. And Govardhana, who when you held him up, touched heaven, has now become short. The devotees who relish the nectar of your names cannot die of starvation. Instead, their end will come in a fire in a great dry forest. Sri Parikshit said, having heard this, Krishna, who is gentle by nature and tormented by sufferings of others, grasped Balaram by the neck and shed a flood of tears, like a person whose life is in ruin. As he cried with loud sobs in his beautiful voice, the tears washed away the cosmetics from his body. Dear mother, Parikshit is saying, he and Balaram then rolled on the ground and for a moment lost consciousness. Seeing the two lords crying in this unprecedented, lamentable state, all the residents of the inner palace lost control of themselves. Rohini, Uddhava, Devaki, Rukmini, Satyabhama, and all the rest, they all lost control and sobbed again and again. When the Yadus heard the sound of distressed crying coming from the inner palace, a sound never heard there before, they quickly came running, headed by Vasudeva and Ugrasena. The Brahmanas arrived led by Garga along with all the other people of the city. And when they saw their beloved master in this extraordinary state, as they never had before, they too began to cry, overwhelmed. So when Krishna cries, everyone cries. His brother, and then his inner circle, and then his parents, and then now all the Yadus, they are coming there and crying. Thus in the 6th chapter of part 1, this is the quickest chapter we have covered in one day. Of part 1 of Sri Sanatana Goswami's Brhad Bhagavatamrta, entitled Priyatama, the most beloved. As we can see, to read and relish this section, we should have read Bhagavatam. We should have read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, and all of Srila Prabhupada's books at least 3 times. So that's why we are rushing through this section. Neither am I qualified to speak. I'll stop there. So we will go a little quicker. As I said, one chapter, most likely we'll finish the next chapter. That's why we are going on narrative rather than reading verse after verse, because we are not in many ways qualified to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. If we read, we will be able to relish this section more. What we are seeing is just a summary. In between a few chapters, we saw descriptions from Bhagavatam. We were able to read, but as we are reading these further sections, we are seeing this more advanced topic. We won't be able to relish in. In fact, if you are not in a proper consciousness, we can even offend them. So we'll quickly read through the summary of the final chapter of part 1 and the subsequent chapters of the part 2 as well. Okay? We'll stop there. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai, Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Sri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Samaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.